Welcome.
The joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 254 of The Joy of Coding. If it's not immediately obvious, things are a little awry. And I realize now my camera's all weird. I apologize for that. Let me try and fix that real quick. But hello, welcome to The Joy of Coding. It's July 7th, 2021. It's so good to see you. My name's Mike Conley. Gonna be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. Let's get started. Let me share my screen. 1 second. Now my microphone might cut out when I transition. I'm just gonna fix that in a sec. Hold on. So it seems that my high quality condenser microphone driver has stopped working again. I don't know why. I thought I'd fix that. It's possible. I have a feeling when Mac OS updates itself is whenever I suddenly lose that capability. So I'm going to have to like uninstall the driver, turn off the Mac OS system integrity protection, install the driver, turn system integrity protection back on, and then my microphone will work again. Probably should just get myself a new USB interface at some point with a more modern driver, but that's where we're at. That's the name of the game. It's the joy of coding. No plan survives breakfast. That's the thing I want to mention. No plan survives breakfast. Who knows what's going to happen today? Things might go horribly wrong. Microphone might stop working. There might be this like weird sort of like blue thing in the background. Who knows what'll happen? It's the joy of coding. It's anyone's guess. And so things might go wrong. Things might go further wrong. I might not stream as long today as well because I took a week off and I'm a little tired still. I'm still getting ramped up. Who knows? But we're capturing software development in the raw. I might get sidetracked. I might get stuck. We might reach a point where I can't proceed anymore. That's okay. That's the name of the game. That's how the joy of coding works. So that's the first thing. The second thing is about this agenda that we're looking at on the screen. So this is, kind of a breakdown of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be updating it, maybe with links to bugs or whatnot. It's got a bunch of handy dandy links, and you have access to this if you want. If you go into the video description of the YouTube video, you should find a link to it. And if you are on Air Mozilla, it will be in the details of this video. And if you're on Twitch, I'm about to drop it into the Twitch chat. Someone named OJUD123477 is spamming the Twitch channel. If someone with kick power wants to get rid of them, that'd be great. Otherwise, someone said install Linux. Oh, Danny Colin says, yeah, all right. It's a lot with this technical stuff. Nice, nice. Yeah, install Linux. Yeah, so this is what happens. Whenever I go on vacation and the machine updates, I fall out of rhythm a little bit. When I hit my rhythm again, I don't know if you've watched the series, I'll hit these rhythms where all of a sudden like every week we're crunching. We don't have these technical issues, but when there's like a little bit of a break or the OS updates, that's when things go wrong. And so hopefully I don't have any vacations coming up, sad face, but that means that hopefully we'll have more of a rhythm going forward and we won't hopefully run into more of these issues. And I'll maybe have an opportunity to make sure that the microphone is prepared next time. This green screen is kind of annoying me. I wish there was a better way. Maybe I'll adjust the lighting later. So what are we working on today? That's what I want to talk about. What are we working on today? Well, we were working on something a couple of weeks ago. If I look back, I think it was like on June 16th, we were working on this clear recent history modal has the old UI, and we landed a patch to make it use the new UI, which is great. If we go to the bug, we can actually what I'll do is I'll copy this as well over to the new notes. And we can see that I landed a patch, but it got backed out. So this patch actually landed 2 weeks ago, and then I requested it to be backed out yesterday, and that means it's not gonna uplift in 91. It's actually going to still be the old dialog in 91 because there were some issues that were brought up, So the first one, and I didn't have time. I was on vacation. I didn't have time to like figure it out, and we're really close to what we call the merge. Whenever what's in Mozilla Central goes to beta, and at that point, the threshold, the bar for what you can land in beta goes up substantially, and I didn't want to like futz around with the stuff on beta. So I figured it was safer to back out on 91 and see if we can fix this, and maybe land it in 92. So a couple of the issues that were brought up with the patch were, it seems that it's fixed. There seems to be a bit too much space on the modal window. Yeah, if you can tell, like the alignment looks a little broken here. Like this spacing over here on this side didn't match the spacing on the left. There's all this big gap here in the middle that is a little odd. Um, so that was an issue. I'm not sure. It seems that the drop-down items might be missing some space. So I'm not sure what was meant there, but maybe there's some drop-down items here that could be spaced out more. I didn't have a spec to work off of, but what we can do is we can maybe go off of some other dialogues and panels that have similar components and use those as a model. And then on uh, 13 days ago, this is June 24th, Mehmet, a volunteer contributor, wrote, "Hi, I'm on macOS. The spacing of the buttons at the bottom are cut off when I enable or disable one of the options. A screenshot is attached." So that's pretty bad too. Like you can start clicking options and all of a sudden it just like pushes the buttons off screen. That's not good. So I'm hoping we can take a look at some of that today. We can try and figure out what's going on. That's my plan. So I backed it out. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reapply the patch. So if we run what's in Mozilla Central right now, we can see what's there. We can actually maybe fiddle around with the old mechanism and see what it looks like. So this is the old dialog, and whenever you click on things, uh, it doesn't change its size. I think if you like choose everything, that's when this will change its size. It'll expand a bit, and that maybe is what Mehmet was running into whenever it pushed it off screen here. You can see this warning came up, and I guess it pushed the buttons off screen. If I get rid of that and I say last hour, then there is a bit of a gap here. Maybe it's more pronounced when we use the new dialogue, so maybe we can tighten that up a little bit. The margins around everything, if I open up Xscope, let's see what we've got for margins and padding. Remind me later. So over here, we're looking at something like 15 pixels of margin left to right, and over here, 20 pixels. Oh, 15 over here. So there's a little bit of margin on the buttons themselves. I don't know what we were dealing with over here. There's something like, there's too much texture. We're gonna have to apply it ourselves, but it looks like it's tightened up a little bit, maybe a bit too much. So we can start poking at that a little. So yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reapply the patch that got backed out. Now the way I could dig it out of Fabricator, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the old commit, which has this. This is the commit that got backed out, and the commit that I originally landed, which is actually a pretty straightforward commit. If I remember correctly, most of the change actually is in a test. Like we update this test so that it uses the new subdialog mechanisms, and the actual work to use the new dialog is right here. It's actually pretty straightforward. You call open on this thing called G dialog box, and you pass it the document that contains the dialog content, as opposed to using open window, which uses the old system. And so what I'm going to do is, instead of pulling it down from Fabricator again, I'm going to use this command called hg. Well, first of all, is it in my history? I think it should be. If I use glog and then I look for this hash, you can see it got backed out by my request. That was backed out yesterday, and we can see it landed on June 22nd. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a command called graft. And what graft does is it's going to create a new commit with the same content of this commit, but it's going to be a new commit, and it's going to, you can think of it almost as like cherry pick, and if you're used to Git. So graft, I'm going to run it. It's going to find that commit, and now it's going to, oh, and it skipped an ancestor revision. I'm not sure what that means. 5, skip, oh, it didn't do it. Probably because it doesn't realize that this got backed out. So maybe there's a way I can tell it to just do it. Don't skip. Force graft. That's what I want. Force. Yeah. Force. Use the force, Mike. Okay, so this lighting is not super good. Here, I'm going to try and fix this. 1 second. So what I'm going to do is try this. Yeah, that's so much worse. That is not helpful. Okay, I've got a different solution in mind. 1 second. Now it's just really dark in here. Now it's super dark in here, but I can turn up the brightness in my camera control, and maybe that will help. Hold on. Hold on. No, this is not helping. I need that lighting. Oh no. Hold on. Hold on. But maybe not as bright. If I make it not as bright, I bring the color intensity back. Hang on, I have to reduce the bright. Hang on, how do I do this? Maybe. Oh man. Oh man. This is all going wrong. Really intense colors. If I really up the intensity, it goes away, but then I look like I've got like leprosy. Oh man. I don't know what the dealio is today. Maybe it's positioning too. Maybe that's better. And then I can reduce the color intensity. Okay, I think we've got it. I think we're starting to veer in on a solution. It's just a little bit of repositioning, a little bit of tweaking, and we're gonna figure this out, people. This is the most important thing I've ever done. Um, it's like tuning a guitar. Just gotta find the right levels so that I don't look like I've got leprosy. There you go. There you go. Almost there. My forehead. I think we might have to sacrifice my forehead. All right, let's just do it this way for now. That's maybe better. Sorry about that. My forehead's gonna be all like I'm gonna be glitching out. I'm gonna be glitching out a little bit. I apologize. I need to figure out the lighting situation. The background is all weird. Wow, what a day! What a day of strange technical issues. I mean that's yeah. Please stand by. That's what Danny Colin is saying. Please stand by. Hey, it's cable access production value. That's what we're doing here. So that's why I look like I've got bugs crawling all over my face. That's why they call me Mike Bugs All Over His Face Conley. Anyways, we've grafted the patch on top. So now if I build this, you know what might actually be best? Because this is really distracting. I'm just going to hide myself for a little bit. That way you don't have to see me. There we go. So you'll be able to hear me. You won't be able to see me. I apologize. I know sometimes I'm fun to watch. So we've built the patch, but now we can focus on like the actual work that's happening on screen, which I think is better. All right, so let's take a look at this dialogue. Okay, so I don't actually see that big gap that that was being reported here. So there might be this might be like a Windows specific thing. Like there might be some operating system stuff. We might have to test this out on Windows. It might be Linux. I'm not sure. But at least on Mac OS, there's no big gap there. But I'll bet you if I choose everything, Oh, no, it resizes too. Now, I see what Rares is saying, though, about the drop down. Like, the drop down seems really compact. You know, if you take a look at some of our other drop downs, um, if I go to permission.site and I choose from the microphone, like, we've got something a little more native right now. And then over here, we've got this kind of non-native wackadoo look, this strange appearance, and the colors are a bit odd. And I wonder if we should converge there. And now our gap has shown up. What the? Hold on a second. What just happened? How come this gap just showed up? Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this, people? That there's now this gap here? And it wasn't here before? Hold on. Hold on. What is going on? All right, I'm restarting the browser with Command Alt R, and we're going to try this again. Let's see if we can. Okay, so it's not there. And what if I open it again? Okay, so the second time, that's interesting. We should start writing this down. I'm going to move this back into active bugs. Okay, so here are the issues. I'm gonna, what are we gonna call this? Is there a, yeah. Oh no, not a task. Not an Evernote task. How do I, how do, no, I don't want to create an Evernote task. Thank you, an issue list. Um, when you open the clear recent history modal twice, the second time there's a big gap beneath the data section. So let's post some screenshots here. I'm going to restart again. I'll show the two screenshots. So first time, this is first time, let's gather this. First time, and then second time. So let's copy that. Okay, so now we know one characteristic about that gap. The menu lists dropdown seems like the wrong style. And then the actual padding around things looks okay, like over here, but I want to see what it looks like on Windows. So I'm going to boot up my Windows 7 VM, and we can take a look at it there. So why would this change size from one open to another? Let's see if we can figure that out first. So the first thing that comes to mind is there an invisible element that is taking up space? Like, what is actually, where is that space coming from? What is the dealio? Uh, Melko Rule says, hello. 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 Nice to meet you. Okay. Is there a gap, like, being created by some kind of element? And I don't think so. Like, if I start putting boxes around things, this is one of the things I sometimes will do. I'll put like an outline, 1px, solid red. So this V box is stretching. It's got a flex. And inside of it, you've got all these things. You've got a group box. This group box is defined down here. And if I put an outline, 1px, solid blue. So yeah, it's like, it's flexing. It's flexing. Why is it flexing? uh, if I say don't flex, then that shrinks down, and then I'll bet you, well, so there's some dynamism here. I don't know why this is flexing so tall. I think we can figure it out. but I think that's part of the issue here. It's a sanitized dialogue. It's ultimately flexing too tall. Quick box. This dialogue and this window inside this browser, inside this H box, inside this V box, inside this dialogue. Wait, where's the V box I cared about before? This is different. Hang on a second. What is happening here? I'm restarting the browser again. Okay. One at a time. Let us analyze this thing. So we have a dialogue, which is inside a window, which is inside a browser, which is inside this thing, which is inside this thing. And that makes sense. And now, if I close and reopen this thing, it's all big. And I can't find that V box I was originally setting. Oh, interesting. Min width, min height. Where is this height coming from? 320? No. Min height. So that is not where it's coming from. Height, min. Display inline. Right, I don't know why you're saying a height on that. And then here, width is being set in the dialog. Alright, let's do what I was doing again because I'm starting to get confused. So the dialog, I can't see an outline for it. I have a feeling it actually extends outside the boundaries there. So we don't see it. Oh, is it the shadow? It was in the shadow root, that is what I was saying, the VBox. The flex on. Right. Because what's inside is all of this stuff. This group box, we reach a limit and like we put all this stuff in it, and this flexes probably because the surrounding window, like there's this separator between it and the buttons, so it's flexing because the surrounding container is larger. That's how Zool works. We're dealing with Zool here, and that's how Zool works. Whereas, with HTML and CSS, you've got this idea of the inner intrinsic items are going to tell everything above it how to lay itself out. Zool actually works sometimes in the opposite direction, which can be very confusing, especially whenever you have both the Zool model and the HTML CSS model operating at the same time. But like with the Zool model, sometimes the outer elements will tell the inner elements what to size themselves as. Like that sort of has priority. You like set dimensions on the outer element, like the outer window, and then the inner elements will flex to fill that dimension. And I think that's what's happening here. Is that one of these things is too big. Screen X, screen Y, width, height, 12px. No. What is the dimension here? The height is 388. Var inner height. if I get rid of this, say height 24px or 5em, it doesn't matter. Like, these dimensions do not matter, and I don't know why they're being used. This dialog frame has a min height, and that's within this, and that's within this. Ah, and this has a height of 388. So what if, oh, it has a variable of inner height, but it actually doesn't have a height applied to it. 300, that does not seem, oh, that's just the top part of it? Fascinating. Dialog box kind of spills out from this. Here's what I'm seeing. Tell me if you're seeing this too. So the outer V box, if you look at the sort of the dotted lines that are appearing inside of the browser element over here, take a look at the dotted lines. It's a little hard to see, but it's saying that the width is from here to here, but that the height is from about here to about here. You see that? And then one of the child elements is spilling out so that it's from, the actual dimensions here to here. That is bizarre. That is bizarre. But okay. But okay. One of the things that comes to mind is, yeah, when this thing grows, I've told it to grow, and now I'm going to send it away and bring it back. It's like it stays there. It's not like it keeps adding. It's like it decides what height this thing should be after the fact, and then it just stays there. I see some Joy of Coding Bridgebot questions. This is from Timmy. Hey, MikeColling.ca, why is deleting history items like 200 not instant? I don't know exactly what use case you're talking about. Like, if you go to clear history and you choose like everything, why is it not instant? And when there are 200 items, my guess is poorly tuned database queries, or like somewhat inefficient database queries. If, for example, you choose a bunch of history and you choose like 200 items in here, I only have 2 here, but if you chose 200, it's possible that we're doing a delete for each row. That might be a reason. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay, so let's see here. How can we influence this gap? That's my next question. How do we influence the size? Now, one way is to maybe start setting max height on things, like max height 30 pixels. Interesting. That actually, I mean, that does shrink this dialog element, but the surrounding box does not shift. And that's an interesting result. Now, what about this window? Max height 30 pixels. Height 30 pixels. So like, I don't think I can actually influence these dimensions. Oh, it also has something called dialog root. That sounds interesting. And then this browser element, it sounds like I actually can't influence. It's an inline display. What if I made it display inline block? Now all of a sudden these like heights make sense. So I can like take height off, and then I can say height 30 pixels. No, that doesn't influence it at all. That is unrelated. Max height 30 pixels. Oh, there we go. There we go. Max height, 300 pixels. Okay, we found a way of influencing it. However, note there's this like shadow in the background. There's also this like shadow where, we've changed the height of things here. This 388 is what's kind of coming up as suspicious to me, because 388 is the current height, and then I like reduce it to like 378, 368, 358, 348, and that's what's bringing it down. So somewhere something calculates 388 for some reason, and then starts like, yeah, like if I set max height of 300 px, and then I set max height of 300 px here, then we get something closer to what we want. So where did that 388 come from? And what value does that dialogue, what do those values have whenever I first open the dialogue? So we are stumbling our way towards understanding what's happening, I think. That value is being computed, probably being set dynamically via JavaScript. So let's try and figure out what the initial value is. Yeah, inner height 306 px. 306 and 306 again, and then 306. Now if I close it and reopen it, 388. Okay, so we have a piece of information that is handy here, which is, I'm actually going to make this not be a list. Or I'm going to start a section on like the dialogue gap. Okay, so the issue appears to be some kind of dynamic setting of max heights, probably by some JavaScript somewhere. And it sets it to 388 px on macOS, at least, on my machine at least, for the second time the dialog opens. And I don't remember, what was it the first time it opens? The first time it opens, it was something different. What was it? .306. And 306 px the first time it opens. Oh, thank you. I should have just asked Smurf D. He had the answer. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out where these values are being set. So one hint is that there are these style variables. Oh man, these CSS variables being set on an attribute, the style attribute of this window modal dialog. One's called inner height and one's called Chrome offset. And let's see if we can find where that's done. Aha, so inside of this open function of G dialog box, we get bounds without flushing the selected browser. Get this offset before we touch style, as touching style seems to reset the cached layout bounds. Interesting. So you get the selected browser top. That's the Chrome offset. That's actually not what we want. It's the other one, which is the inner height. Inner height. Oh, it's actually not in here. Inner height. Ah, that's being set here in subdialog. When we resize vertically. So a big calculation occurs in here. Ultimately to set some kind of height, the frame height, and then it sets those values. So my guess is that there is something going wrong inside of this function, resize vertically. We are tending towards an answer. So subdialog.jsm's resize vertically. Here, let me pump up the font a little. Oh, that's too big. Too much. Too much. Just 2 is enough, thank you. Subdialog.jsm's resize vertically, which I will link to, seems to be responsible for setting those height values. So my first question is, who calls resize vertically? That happens whenever something calls resize dialog. Okay, and who calls resize dialog? When the dialog loads. Okay, so when the dialog first loads, oh man, that's interesting. Okay. Do this on load to wait for the CSS to load and apply before calculating the size. So what we do is we get some stuff, determine set a bunch of width stuff. Width I don't care about. Then it chooses the resize vertically, and then it fires an event. Oh, yada yada yada. Okay. So after it first opens, we were right. Resize vertically does seem like the right thing to do. So what we might want to do is step through this resize vertically function in the debugger and see where it's how it's computing this this value. Resize vertically. So what I'll do is I'll set a breakpoint here and let us close and now open the dialog. Okay, so we're going to step through this. Hopefully you can see what I'm seeing. Let's go. First thing, we get the document element for the dialog that's being opened. If the title bar is disabled, set its height to 0 for the calculation. Okay, yeah, there is no title bar. Box vertical border equals 2 times getting the compute style of the border top width. Let's see what those values are. So 0 and 0. So the difference between the frame and box shouldn't change either. Well, let's find out. Get bounding client rect, box rect, height is 80, frame rect, height is 80. The frame difference is 0. Well, that's good. And then content pane, we're going to get access to some DOM nodes. And now we're going to get an attribute on what to size to. Size to. There's no attribute called size to. And there's no like available or limit height. That's interesting. I wonder if we want to use something like size to. Maybe that's our problem. We might want to look at some other dialogues to see what they do. But we'll skip that. Well, the thing is, it gets it right the first time. Okay, so we're going to call this function called getDocHeight, which maybe is interesting. Doc style height or scroll height, 388. So that's where it comes from. The document, the actual dialog document scroll height thinks it's 388 pixels tall. And so that's where it comes from. All right. Let's try something different. Let's open a different dialog. What is a good example of a different dialog that's like this one? It's a window modal. So something like hmm, what's a good example? I think something like the application, like choose choose the application to open this link in. Um, so like uh, let's see, if I set mail to be always ask, and then I click on a mail to link. Just want an example mail to link. Okay, we're about to open up a sub dialog. So we open up this thing, and each time I do that, I don't create it, expand it the second time. Um, so let's see what it does. There's no title bar. I get the content pane. I look at size 2. Size 2 is also blank. I get the dock height. And it's getting the scroll height of 271. And that's ultimately what's being set, right? Like if I look at this, 271. Yeah. So that's the right height. So how come it gets the right height the second time? Well, what dialogue? Like maybe we're supposed to be doing something in our come on, come on, come on. Ah, no. Stop. Stop, 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 stop. Spect. Where is this dialogue pointed at? appchooser.xhtml. Does it constrain its height somehow? Like, why would um, sanitize.xhtml, why would it change its height? Persist, screen X, screen Y, dialogue title, style. Hmm. Sanitize dialogue. I'm just thinking out loud here, but I have a feeling. Okay, it sets the width on its window, but not the height. So what's causing it to think that the scroll height is so much higher? Sanitize prompt dialogue init. There is that warning. Um, Part of me wonders whether or not it's related to that warning that shows up automatically sometimes. Um, Let me show you what I mean. So this gap here is, if you squint, kind of this size. Like the difference is kind of this size. And I'm just guessing here. I'm going to guess. This is a hypothesis. But my guess is that that box during initialization is being it's part of the calculation whenever it's figuring out that height. It's including that box, and then that box is collapsed during initialization, and then we are left with that gap. That's my hypothesis. So let me write that down. Hypothesis. The gap is being caused by the, what's it called? All selected items will be cleared. This action cannot be undone warning box that shows up if everything is selected in the menu list. I suspect that this box is being used is still has dimensions, has non-zero height during load when the resize vertically routine runs, and then is hidden. That's my hypothesis. Timmy asks another question. Why is the protocol for style sheets and stuff Chrome? Yeah, that's a great question. So browsers in particular, and this is before the Chrome browser existed. This is back in like Netscape Navigator era. Web browsers differentiated between two sections of the application surface. There was this area, which we called content, and then there was everything surrounding it, which back then also included things like the status bar at the bottom, includes this find bar at the bottom, and it's called the Chrome, almost like the shiny thing around the real meat, like almost like I think it's an automobile metaphor, which I've never really understood, but for that's why, like, that's the difference. It's like the terminology for the browser UI has historically been, and this is before the Chrome browser existed, Chrome. So whenever someone says, we're going to be modifying this button up here in the Chrome, that's what they're talking about. In the browser UI, they're synonymous with one another. And then the Chrome browser got developed by Google. They decided, and they knew that that's what people call the browser UI is Chrome. So they thought they were very clever, and they called their browser Chrome. And that has led to a whole host of confusion. But yeah, that's why the protocol is Chrome. It predates the Google browser. So can we validate this hypothesis? Validate or refute this hypothesis? My test will be if I can find that box and just like not show it ever. Here's this box right here, the warning box. And let's see. By default, it does seem to have some dimensions. And then over here in JavaScript land, it does look like we choose during this init phase, which happens on load. Init phase, whether or not it's hidden. And I'll bet you that that happens too late. Prepare warning. Panel that displays warning with duration is not set up, sets it up, otherwise does nothing. Okay. Warning box hidden. So what I'm going to do as a potential solution, because I think this is true, is I'm going to set hidden equals true by default. I'm going to have this thing start as hidden by default. I don't have to change any of the logic. Maybe they didn't Google Chrome before they started to name the browser. Heyo! Man, I love that joke. Good job, Smurf D. That's a great joke. Okay, so we have our dialog here. I'm going to close that. I'm going to open it again. Hey, all right, I think we have a solution. Now we have to make sure that this thing, yeah, it expands. And if I do that again, uh, let's have that. Let's execute that, and then okay, that's a problem. That's a problem. Um, so it changed its size during load. I wonder if another thing we can do here in this sanitize dialog. Init. Let's just try something. I'm going to await promise.resolve. We're going to wait a tick of the event loop. Okay, so there we go. There's our dialogue. I'm going to hide it. All right, and now there it is again. Bring it back. And now, still bad. That's a bad. That's no good. So waiting for promise resolve isn't enough. I've got another idea. Await new promise resolve. Request animation frame resolve. So if we like wait for a frame before we do it. I think I've seen us do something similar on upgrade dialog. Yeah, to change the height of things. Okay, let's try it. Nope, no good. No good. Um, yeah, still no good. Let's try something slightly different now. Set timeout. Let's time out by 1 second. This is never going to ship. But I got a feeling this is all about timing. And so I'm going to try and influence the timing. Interesting. Even if we wait a second, it's like the dialogue does not react to the update. That's very interesting. How does the dialogue not know how to change its own size? Subdialog.jsm. function to be called on dialog resize. On content loaded. If this box get attribute resizable is true, then on resize do this. Trap focus, we're going to have a resize callback. That's inside of resize dialog. But only if the box has resizable set to true. And that's only true if it's got the little grippy. It looked like it was a default at first, and then after a second changed to that warning. That's right. That is correct, SmurfD. And that's because of that 1 second wait I put in up here. Like, it's restoring the original state of the dialogue, which has everything set. And I wait for a second before I do the work of, like, unhiding stuff. Oh. Oh. Only apply the following dialog is open outside of preferences. What happens if I call size to content? Size to content. Size to content. That sounds important. If dialog has attribute. That's interesting. Okay, so hold on a second. I'm going to open up the toolbox again. We're going to step through sanitize dialog here. Okay. And do we ever call size to content? We never call size to content. Now what if I within here call size to content? Let's move this out of the way, and I'm going to press enter and see what happens. Nothing. All right. Style decides again if the style attribute has been applied. Subdialog. How does size to content work? Forward to outer. That might not actually work because it's not a top-level doc shell. Size to content might not be a thing that's even applicable anymore. App chooser. What does this thing do? App chooser, JS size. Document Moz subdialog ready. I think I saw this earlier. How does this work? Some subdialogues may want to perform additional asynchronous steps during initializations. In that case, we expect them to define a promise which will delay measuring until the promise is fulfilled. Aha. So, let's try something. What was it? App chooser. Oh yeah, it's here. Chooser.js. And the way it did it was by defining something called document Moz subdialog ready inside of initialize. And it expects something that is like a promise. Okay. So what if I do like this? Um, subdial, right, equals that. Okay. Let's just see what happens. We're experimenting, people. I feel like we're fumbling towards it here. Okay. Okay. Not okay. Okay. That whole issue, I wonder, is it related to the fact that maybe we want the box there initially sometimes? Like that's where I think we're falling over, is whenever the box is initially there. So everything, let's go last hour. See, that's no good. That's the opposite problem. I feel like we're getting close though. Um, where's sanitize dialog? So document set timeout, solve. We're gonna dump resolved after 1 second. And then inside of subdialog.jsm, um, target has Moz subdialog ready. Dump done waiting for Moz subdialog ready. Else dump could not find Moz subdialog ready. And then resize dialog. Resize vertically. Resize vertically called. Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes here, but I feel like we're on to something here. Okay, here we go. Target has, oh, see, like done waiting for Moz subdialog ready, but that was before it resolved, so I think I set this up wrong. Moz subdialog ready equals a new promise. And the way it works is Moz subdialog ready. We're supposed to await it. Upgrade dialog. I wonder if, is init being called too late? Upgrade dialog. On load. Okay. Sanitize dialog. Dump init g sanitize prompt dialog init called. Learning, learning, learning. Learning. So init's called, and then we set Moz subdialog ready, and then it says it's done waiting for it, even though it hasn't resolved yet. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I never call resolve either. I never called resolve. Am I doing this wrong? It's a new promise. Here it is. Let's see if I can two-string it. So it is an actual object. But it doesn't truly await it. It is a promise. What if I make this a completely different thing? What if I make it null? Is it even the same promise? Like, hang on, I got a better idea. Moz subdialog ready equals new promise. And now I'm going to say like foo equals bar. So I'm going to like set an expando property on that promise. Dump foo? Target content document Moz subdialog array foo. So if that spews out bar, I think we're talking about the same thing. And if not, like there could be some kind of membrane here. That's what it almost feels like. Like there's some kind of promise membrane here. Undefined. Undefined. It's a completely different thing. Okay, hold up. What if I set it to null? It still thinks there's something there. Huh. Did I screw up? Is there another Moz sub? Oh, there is another. Oh, I'm so mad at myself. Oh, okay. There's already another Moz subdialog ready down here. There's already a Moz subdialog ready down here, people. And then make sure we've run layout. And it looks like there's already been a bunch of work here. To like resize things. Ensure we've translated and sized the warning. And run layout. otherwise it's unhidden. Sure, we've run layout. Warning box height. This dot warning box dot get bounds with get bounds without flushing. Don't want to run layout again, so it's root win. Box equals root win utils window utils get bounds without flushing. This dot warning box, and then we'll say box dot height. Okay. I was about to go down a real rabbit hole. I had no idea where that other promise was coming from. Turns out I was just erasing it. Okay. The warning box height, 82. I can get rid of that other thing, I guess. I don't need here. Height is 82. All right. Then it's not, like, it's not run. So we don't wait for it. And then everything. And now here's where things went wrong. Could not find a Moz subdialog ready. Could not find a Moz subdialog ready. So it's like this function ran this onload ran too early. Like, or G's sanitized prompt dialog and it got called way too late. Init in the onload event handler. And here onload the load event. Onload. We run init. We clear that. By the time we exit here, it's like, why we run an init way too late. Oh, that's so bad. Now, the load event, here, dump running subdialog onload event handler. Running G sanitized prompt dialog. Okay, I have a hypothesis about what's going wrong, and then I'm going to call it. My hypothesis is that we always run the subdialog event handler first. That's my hypothesis. Yeah. And then we run the gsanitize prompt dialog. And the reason why it gets an opportunity to wait is because, like, the reason why this runs first and it doesn't fall over when it doesn't, like, if this one runs first, how come it's able to see the sub dialog ready? It's because of this. It's about translation. That's what's going wrong here. Okay, here's what's going wrong. I'm going to write this down. Oh boy. Okay, sub dialog on load always runs first. But the first time we load this dialog, it awaits the translation of all of the strings in the dialog. While it's waiting for that, the, what is it called? Sanitize prompt dialog routine gets a chance to run, which populates the Moz subdialog ready property so that once subdialog dot onload has resumed after awaiting translation, it knows to wait for the dialog to resolve the Moz subdialog ready promise. But in subsequent loads, because of document fragment translation caching, we don't have to wait for localization to run when the dialog reopens, so it doesn't know to wait for Moz subdialog ready. That's the problem. Folks, we figured it out, I think. So we know what's going wrong, and now it's about figuring out the solution. We don't know what that is. Clearly, there are other dialogues that do this. Upgrade dialog is one of them. You know, I think we might go for this solution where we immediately set the Moz subdialog ready on running some of this stuff, but that's going to require a little bit of canoodling, I think. Like always having a Moz subdialog ready promise, and then after init runs, having it sort of dynamically, like having init be responsible for resolving it. Actually, maybe we can do that right now. Let's just try and do it right now. Let's just try and hack something together really quickly. So what we can do is always have this promise. Let's say like let g resolver equal. This is throwaway code, okay, folks? Let g resolver, and then here we'll set g resolver equals resolve. New promise. It's really hacky throwaway code, but the idea is now up here we can say in init we'll say instead of Moz subdialog ready, we'll just do this stuff, and then uh, uh, and then G resolver. We'll call G resolver. It's garbage. Garbage code. Else. G resolver. I don't know. That is not great. That is not great. I'm not happy with that. But that is the general idea. Is like making sure that there is a Moz subdialog ready property there, and then being intelligent about. Okay, it hates it. Promise. Document flushed. Right. How is this? How is this originally written? You return. Oh. Return. And then G resolver. Bad stuff. Bad stuff. I'm probably going to end up making that an async function. It's probably a lot more readable. I don't like using thens on promises. But okay. Last hour. Okay. Everything. Okay. Hey, all right. Folks, I think we figured it out. We haven't got the right solution just yet, not crafted, but we figured out the problem. So, I'm going to say, like, this is what's going wrong. Figured it out. Just need a good solution now. And I'm going to call it there because, you know, it's not like, that is actually pretty typical in terms of, you know, some debugging session or like you know, whenever I'm doing my day job, that's the sort of thing that I do. Is like we start something with something really really fluffy. You know, why is this box a little bit bigger? And then like you actually during this episode got to see me go from okay, the inspector, where is this size coming from? Oh, it's set, you know, dynamically from JavaScript to determining okay, there's this JavaScript that runs over here inside of subdialog.jsm all the way down to, oh, there is a mechanism in place to have the dialog be able to tell the subdialog module that it's ready for measurement, and we're not using it properly. Like, you got to see that whole journey. Now, we haven't gotten to the point where it's like, okay, now use it properly. But, you know, you got to see the first half, which, you know, that's realistic. You saw some realistic stuff there. And I think what I'm going to do is call it there. Thank you so much for watching episode 254 of The Joy of Coding. I apologize for the bugs all over my face. I look like I've got this chrome hand. I'm super shiny or like weirdly transparent. I can be invisible. I don't know why it thinks my hand might be a little bit green. I think I need to rejig the keying in OBS. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you thought. There is a link. Hang on, let me share my screen again. There's a link in the agenda for rating the episode. Let me know what you thought. I realize this was a little bit of a sloppy one. I'll try and do better next time. But let me know what you thought. Smash that like and bell and stuff. And I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.